Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Osman Ali and the video is regarding the second numerical of a future contract. So we have gone through the first numerical, we have the basic understanding of the whole process of it. So let's go through the second numerical to affirm the concept of the future contracts and mark-to-market adjustments. So 4 days ago, you entered into a future contract to buy 1,20,000 euros, 25,000 euros at $1.56 per euro. So the quantity is 1,25,000 euros and the strike rate is $1.6 per euro. So let's write it down here, $1.56 per euro. We will buy it at this price. And how many euros we are planning to buy? We are planning to buy 125,000 euros actually. So according to this, our contract value would be the strike price multiplied by the quantity. So our strike price is 1.56 and the quantity is 1,25,000 euros that we are buying. So the total worth of the contract or the value of the contract will be $1,95,000. Okay, so that's the contract value. Further, it says the spot exchange rate when you entered into the contract was $1.59. So the time when we signed the contract, we signed it at a price of 1.56, but at the same time, in the spot rate, in the market, the spot rate was 1.59. So this 1.59 has nothing to do in our numerical actually. It's an information given to us actually. Then your initial margin was $6,400. You have observed this, that in the previous numerical, the initial margin was given in a percentage, which was more realistic because initial margins are given in a percentage form, although 25% was a big percent, but it is in a form of percentage. Here in this numerical, it's given in form of dollars to us, $6,400, and our maintenance margin was 2,600. So this 2,600 means that we should always have a minimum balance of 2,600 in our accounts with the clearing house. Whereas this 6,400 means that this is the amount of money that we should deposit at the time of signing the contract. So let's say we have signed the contract and both of the buyers and sellers are actually supposed to deposit this money. So we will deposit $6,400. Okay, the buyer, and the seller will also deposit $6,400 with the clearing house. And I will shift the initial margin value here as well. The initial margin is 6,400, whereas our maintenance margin was 2,500, 2,600 I believe. Yes, 2,600, which means this should be our minimum balance. So now the contract is signed, everything is okay. For the past 4 days, means day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4 adjustments, or the values are given, the new market prices, or the year, sorry, not the year, the day end market prices are given for the purpose of adjustment. So at the end of day 1, assuming that the euro was priced as 1.58 instead of 1.56, so we're gonna adjust the contract this time now based on 1.58 actually. So our new contract, or not the contract, but a new price for day 1, new price that we have is 1.58. So according to 1.58, our contract value would be the quantity that we are planning to buy multiplied by the new price. So we are planning to buy 1,20,000 euros with a price of 1.58 each, which means that the total value of the contract now will be equal to $1,97,500. So we are good to calculate the difference now. The difference is actually the difference of the new contract value from the old contract value. Okay, so the new contract value that we have is 1,97,500 minus our old contract value was $1,95,000. So The difference is $2,500 here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you do remember that we discussed it in the rules that when the price of that underlying asset increases, then it's a profit for the buyer and loss for the seller. So the price was $1.56 per euro, but now it is 1.58. So the euro has gone expensive and we are the buyers. Okay, so it gonna give us the profit here. So profits are added then to the party who is earning it. In our case right now, buyer is earning it, so we're gonna add the profit of 2,500 to the buyer's account, and we will subtract the same quantity of dollars from the seller's account because seller is on the loser end for time being. Let's do the addition and subtraction. So 6,400 plus 2,500 will become $8,900, whereas 6,400 minus 2,500 would become $3,900. Now, at the end of the day, once we are done with the remainder balance, we will compare the remaining balance with the maintenance margin. So buyers have a remainder balance of 8,900, which is way above than maintenance margin, and seller also don't have any problem with the balance because he also have more than what is required in the maintenance margin. So everything is fine. That's good. So this was our first day adjustment. Let's go to the second day adjustment. To start with the second day adjustment, we need the ending value, ending price of the euro at the business day ends. So that's 1.51 for the second day. So let's go for $1.51 is the fresh price. So according to it, our new contract value would be the quantity 1,25,000. Okay, multiply by the price, which is 1.51 now, and if you multiply it, we get a result of $1,88,750. So our difference would be the new contract value minus the old contract value. Now for day 2, the new contract value would be the same day 2, which is 1,88,750. Whereas for day 2, the old contract value this time will be day 1, not the contract price. Okay, so the day 1 price was $1,97,500. So the balance, the change that will be is $8,750. This is the amount of change that have just occurred actually. Now, the prices were 1.58 yesterday when we adjusted the accounts, and now it has came down. So just like a increase in the price is a profit for the buyer, then a decrease in the price of the underlying asset will be considered as a loss for the buyer. So we will subtract 8,750 from the buyer's account, and meanwhile we're gonna plus it to the same money to the seller's account. Okay, now 8,900 minus 8,750 will give us a positive remainder of $150, whereas 3,900 plus 8,750 gives us a balance of 12,650. Okay, so that's our remaining balance here. Now if we see here, the seller has a remaining balance of way above than the maintenance margin, so that's fine. Seller doesn't have any issue. But if we focus here to the buyer side, so buyer has $150 remaining, and he minimum needs $2,600 actually to continue. Okay, to continue with the numerical. So that's if you can say 2,600. So the seller must have 2,600. The buyer must have 2,600 in his account actually to continue. So I will write that money which is needed to continue is 2,600. Now the question is, how much money should be brought by the buyer so that his balance becomes 2,600. So it's very simple. How much money he need? 2,600 minus how much money is already available? 150. So 2,600 minus 150 would give a balance of 2,450. It means that the buyer must bring this much amount of money from home. If he brings this much money from home, so then his balance will become 2,600. Just for your ease, I will write here MC. MC here means margin call. So it will just help us to recall it that this 2,450 was actually brought by the buyer on a margin call from the clearinghouse. Now the seller's account, as we discussed earlier, does not faces any problem. So he is not supposed to bring any money from home because his account is fine. So he will have 2,650 after the margin call. So these are the new balances now here. Okay. So let's go for our third day adjustment now. So the new price for the day 3 is also given to us. The third day price or the third end of day price is $1.57 per euro. So the value or the fresh market price is $1.57 per euro. To know the new contract value, we would multiply this fresh price of 1.57 into the quantity 1,25,000 euros that we plans to buy, and this time it would become $1,96,250. This is our new contract value. The difference is the new contract value 1,96,250 minus the old contract value. So for day 3, day 2 will be the old value, which was 1,88,750. So the difference is 7,500 this time dollars. Now the prices were 1.51 and they have increased to 1.57. An increase in the prices is actually a profit for the buyer, long position. So we're gonna add this 7,500 to the buyer's account, and the same quantity of dollars will be subtracted from the seller's account. Okay, the rules remain same. 2,600 plus 7,500 becomes 10,100, whereas 12,650 minus 7,500 becomes 5,150. These are the remaining balances in both parties' account at the end of day 3. Both of the balances are way above than the maintenance margin requirement, so we do not have margin call this time to any of the party. And let's continue to the 4th day, which is the last day of the contract. On the 4th day, the day end price of the euro is $1.59 per euro. So let's adjust the accounts of the buyer and seller according to the new prices. So the new contract value would be the new price multiplied by the quantity, and it will be 1,98,750. The difference would be 1,98,750 minus the old price, which is 1,96,250. So we will get a difference of $2,500. Is it a profit or loss for the buyer? For that, we would compare the new and old prices. So the old price was 1.57 and now the new price is 1.59, which means that the price has increased. An increase in the price is a profit for the buyer, and it's considered loss for the seller actually. So there will be a plus 2,500 with the buyer and minus 2,500 for the seller. 10,100 plus 2,500 will become $12,600, whereas 5,150 minus 2,500 will give us a remainder of 2,650. So this is the ending balance in the accounts of the buyer and seller at the end of the fourth year. And not the fourth year, sorry, the fourth day. And 4th day was actually the last day. So these are the remaining balances. The contract life has finished. It is the time to settle the contract. And based on the settlement, the buyer and sellers were supposed to make some cash flows and receivables. So overall, the clearinghouse gonna make sure that the settlement is made. So first of all, what the clearinghouse will do is, the clearinghouse will request the buyer to pay the last day contract value. So I will write here last day contract value will be paid by the buyer. What was the last day contract value? The last day contract value is 1,98,750. So he will pay this much amount of money actually, 1,98,750 as he is paying. So this would be taken as a minus sign. And obviously he is paying to whom? To the seller. So seller will receive the same amount of money, 1,98,750. Then the clearinghouse will hand over the remaining balance of the buyer to the buyer and the remaining balance of the seller to the seller. So if we go to the balances side, the buyer has a balance of 12,600. So the buyer is entitled actually to receive, that would be a cash inflow, 12,600. Whereas the seller will not receive the same amount of money because his balance is different. He has 2,650 in his account. So the seller will have a cash inflow of 2,650 from the clearinghouse side. Why they are receiving this money? Both of the parties actually deposited some initial margin at the time of signing the contract. So if they have deposited, then they are entitled to receive whatever the remaining balances are. But the question is, how much initial margin was deposited to start the contract with? So they deposited actually 6,400 each, actually the buyer and as well as the seller. So when they deposited, it was a cash outflow for them, 6,400, and the same initial margin was a cash outflow for the seller also. Okay, so we're gonna shift the same value here also. Now, did we had any margin call for the buyer? Yes, we had a margin call for the buyer, which means that the buyer brought extra money from his personal assets and deposited it in his account with the clearinghouse. So how much was the money brought? The money brought was 2,450. This was the money brought actually by the buyer. And look at the seller side, zero money was brought. So remember that zero. So as the buyer brought it, then it would be a cash outflow for the buyer. How much money? 2,450. Okay. Whereas if we talk about the margin call of the seller, so seller brought zero, so it will be zero. He did not brought actually anything. Okay. So let's find the net value for the buyer and for the seller also. So for the buyer, minus 1,98,750 plus 12,600 minus 6,400 plus 2,450. So there would be a minus $1,95,000 cash outflow, or $1,95,000 cash outflow directly, plus 1,98,750 plus 2,650 minus 6,400, and with a zero, there is a cash inflow of $1,95,000 for the seller actually. And if you remember that, it was actually the contract value on which the contract was signed. Let's go back and let's see it. So when the contract was signed on 1.56, at that time the contract value was $1,95,000. Although that the last day price is 1.59, which is quite different from 1.56 of the contract, but still the net value of the contract remains same. And that's why we say that the future contracts forward and options, or all of the derivative contracts are actually signed with a major objective of hedging purpose. That's minimization of the risk. Speculation is also the part or the motivation behind that. Okay, so I hope, ladies and gentlemen, you got the concept of the future contract. This was the second numerical that we solved. Thank you very much. Stay safe.